So recently there have been a lot of return to the office mandates from big companies, and as someone who worked all different type of settings, because I worked both full remote to full-time in the office and all in between, I wanted to give my opinion about this. In fact, I went from the extreme of having a full-time job where I had to be in the office 5 days per week, around 12 hours per day, and then passed to another job where it was more chill because it was following the normal time in France, so 7 hours per day, but still have to go to the office every day until there were the lockdown around 2020, and suddenly from one day to the other we stayed completely working from home. And this was a bit of experience because being already in that company for more than 2 years, already knew the work that I had to do. I was more autonomous. I knew all the colleagues, so I didn't really feel the need of being there in the office, for instance. Then after that, I did another job in Italy, full remote, but starting from scratch. And there I could see it was a bit more difficult to interact with colleagues without having passed long time working with them. So there maybe was the main difference that I could perceive, like comparing someone with a lot of knowledge about the product, about the team, compared to someone new working full remotely. After that, I took a sabbatical and worked on my projects fully remote together with some friends, but I was mostly working on my own. And now I'm back to a normal job here in France. But this time we're using a hybrid setting. So basically we need to be in the office 2 to 3 times per week, and they're very flexible. I also have some weeks in which I can work from anywhere that I already used to travel and work at the same time. So that's pretty neat. So I want to share what I think are the main benefits and drawbacks of working from office or working from home. And I think it really depends on your kind of level of expertise, both in your job and your career, but also inside a specific company. Of course, what I'm talking about is my experience as software engineer. There are jobs that, of course, cannot be done fully remotely. Like if you are a doctor, probably you can do only so much with a video call with the patient. Probably you need to visit them in person. As well, if you need to use specific machine, maybe you work in a laboratory, you need specialized equipment that you cannot have at home. So I understand that there are jobs that cannot be done fully remotely. So what I'm referring to is, of course, jobs like software development or maybe marketing and sales that don't really need you to be physically in an office. So if we start with the main drawbacks of working full-time from the office is, of course, all the commuting because even right now, for instance, just to go to the office is gonna take 1 hour to go, and then to go back home is another hour lost. And that if there is no problem, because I need to take a train and a bus to arrive to the office, and if there is a strike or there is a problem on the line, then it can even be that I need to wait much more time. So it's all time completely wasted, in my opinion, compared to working from home, where you can use this time, save time from commuting to work on yourself, personal care, personal projects. So that's for sure is the main benefit of working remotely compared to working in the office. Then if we add other things, like for instance, in the season where there are many flus, there are people that get sick, so if you take public transport, but even in the office there are people that come to the office sick, so you risk to get sick yourself because of this, while of course if you work from home you can avoid going too much around in places if you don't need to. And I think drawback that I think it is more of the employee world in general, that is that if you need to go to a certain shop, maybe you need to go for a visit to a doctor or something, if you need to be to the office, probably you don't have time like to go before work or after work because everything is already closed, if you include the time to commute. So in the end you have no time and you need to use your paid time off to go to do these routine things, while if you work remotely, maybe you have time still. Like if here I know that I want to go for a visit during my lunch break or right after work, I close at 5 and I go. While if I had to go to the office, then maybe I arrive back at home at 6:30, 7, when most of these places are already closed. So this is another benefit that it can be obtained by just working from home. Now, all of this, of course, is more practical, life-related benefits, while if we want to talk about the job itself, like the benefits of being in the office, where they often say it will increase the community in the office, the culture of the company. Honestly, yes and no, because there are like knowledge sharing. There are some times where it's actually better to be in person, but I don't feel like the benefit of being every day in the office for that. Like for instance, right now with a hybrid schedule, I think it's already working well. You have time to meet your colleagues, you have time to socialize, and you can organize this meeting in person if you really need it during the days where everybody, or at least the person that you need, are in the office. So you don't really need to be full-time in the office to get these benefits. And I really believe that working in the office is much more beneficial if you are if you're someone just starting out in the team or starting out in your career, because that's when you're gonna need to ask much more questions to people, and therefore it's much easier, like if you have a question, instead of waiting for them to reply in your Teams chat or your Slack, you can just go to their desk. Of course, this is a drawback for experienced people that instead are focusing on their work and they get interrupted constantly by people asking them questions. So I think this benefit depends really on your skill level and the time that you're joining the team. Indeed, I experienced this myself, as I said, in my second job, once we switched to full-time remote during the pandemic. In that case, I already knew all my team. I already knew the tasks that I had to do, so I was very independent in my task. And actually, I was much more productive because in that case, I was already at the level in which people were asking me questions. So if I was in the office and I needed to focus, to do some deep work, to do some coding, and I get interrupted, I lose much more time because I need to regain focus. While at home, I could mute certain chats and just focus on finishing my task as soon as possible with no distraction, no colleagues screaming on the phone nearby me. So I think for focus, when you really know what to do, it's much more beneficial to work from home in that case. But if you're someone that, as I said, you need to ask the questions, probably you feel much more isolated. If you are alone from home and need to wait people to answer you in the chat, you need to schedule maybe a call. So you have a lot of times where you're really stuck, you don't know what to do. And in that case, maybe all you can do is just wait because you're really blocked and nobody can support you immediately. So I think to sum it up, I believe that working remotely, if you have a certain experience, like level of experience in your job, is much more beneficial to you. And especially when I have to go to the office and join team meetings, because in any case, even if most of the people are in the office, maybe we work with somebody else working from other locations, maybe in India or Colombia, for instance, and in that case, I mean, you will never be able to physically meet if you need to wait for that. And I actually seen some companies that work fully remote, some startups, for instance, and then they just decide to have some meetup, maybe 1 week, every once in a while. All the team meet in a certain location. They work from co-working places, so they meet each other, they can socialize, they can meet in person all these colleagues that they only work with online, but most of the time they work fully remote because this kind of jobs actually can be done fully remote. Because even if exchanging ideas, brainstorming, or maybe doing some pair programming maybe are a bit easier to do in person, and you get a bit more feedback by talking with a real person than to a screen. In any case, it can be done online. So you just need to find a way to make it work for you, but you don't lose that much to say you can never train somebody fully online. You can do it, you just need to schedule and find a way to be more efficient in it, and everything can be done online. Now, I know that there are people that need more socialization, so they prefer to be in the office in any case because they feel too isolated if they work from home. Some people naturally prefer to be around other people to work instead of being isolated on their computer, but I think that is a personal preference more than a very huge business value, as some of these big tech companies are trying to say and to enforce. So I believe that most of the reason, like one of the main reasons why they try to do it is one, to push people to resign, because if they don't like to work in the office full time, probably they're going to change job. So sometimes these companies do for that. Instead of doing massive layoff, they prefer people to just quit on their own. In other cases, it's just a way to try to do some micromanagement of the team, and honestly, it's not the right way to go. Like, if this is the company culture that they want to push, it doesn't seem really healthy, let's say, because if you cannot even trust the people you work with, what's the point? Like, seriously, you just need to hire other people if you don't trust the people you work with. Now, maybe the last point I wanted to tackle is the one related to the work from anywhere, because I tried it last year and it was kind of nice actually, even though I think it's very, very tiring. At the time, since I work in France and I wanted to keep the time zone of France, so the working time, as my team, and I went to work from Indonesia for 3 weeks. In that case, I had the time in the morning to explore and go around all Indonesia, but in the afternoon till evening I had to work, and I think it was kind of a good compromise, because in that case I didn't have to use my paid time off to explore the country, but I managed to combine both. The thing is that the working day is getting really tiring because basically you wake up early to do all the exploration, then you go to sleep kind of late because you need to work until maybe 10 or 11 in the evening, and therefore I don't think that is something that I could do like for a longer period of time. So for me, 3 weeks was already enough and very tiring, but I think having this kind of flexibility sometimes is a really good opportunity. I think as well an experience that I suggest and recommend to anyone that has the opportunity to do this work from anywhere. Then of course, if you are not like in an employee normal job, but maybe you are a freelancer, so you can decide your own time. In that case, you can decide when you want to work, so probably working from anywhere works much better in that case. But in this video I wanted to focus on these working schedules, both remote or in the office, from the point of view of an employee. So if you had a similar experience, or if you have a certain preference in working remotely or from home, let me know in the comments down below. And that's all for now, so thank you guys for watching and see you in the next video.